monk mode. Doesn't make you more productive. It's not going to help you build a business. And it is not going to do anything for you except make you feel better about your life. I've watched almost every single monk mode video there is on the planet. And while they're great for getting hyped up and excited about how you can meditate your way to millions, none of them really helped in reality. In fact, I actually wasted a lot of time that I thought I was focusing and I was locked in, when in reality, I was just doing a bunch of stuff that didn't actually make any difference in my life. Let me ask you this. When you see hyper successful people like Elon Musk talk about their work, do they ever mention a 67-step morning routine? Do they ever mention meditating? Do you see Jeff Bezos hitting the cold plunge when he was building Amazon from the ground up? Probably not. Consider this a warning. Monk mode is not going to save you. Don't get me wrong. Me and the monks, we're cool. There's nothing wrong with living like a monk. There is a time and a place for meditation and reflection, and that stuff is valuable and it is great. But when you want to change your situation, you need force. You need action. You don't need to sit around all day. It's literally physics. Newton's first law states that if a body is at rest, it will remain at rest unless it is acted upon by an external force. So if you don't like your situation and you decide to act like a monk, physics states that your situation is going to stay the exact same. So if you're someone that's afraid to apply a little bit of force to get what you want in life, you should probably go and click on a super edited video that's going to give you some basic advice like, you need to go get 8 hours of sleep. Like, yeah, no shit, mate. Do I need to go drink some water and breathe some air while I'm at it? Is that going to help me scale? This video and what I'm about to talk about is for people who want to make a drastic change in your life. Although even in saying that, if you just have 5 to 10 hours per day, it's no more than a normal job, you can do it. It's not like it takes all of your waking hours as long as you're not wasting all your time meditating and cold plunging. But if you think that stuff is going to somehow magically change your life, you're pretty much dead wrong. Let me tell you something you probably don't want to hear, but that you need to hear. The thing that's going to help you take back control of your life is actual work. I'm talking about a list of successful actions. When you're meditating, are you moving your business forward? Are you achieving anything when you hit the cold plunge? No. So how does that make sense? Going to the sauna has nothing to do with leveling up. It might help your fitness, but you have to ask yourself, how is that going to change my life? If you want to be a difference, make a difference, or live any differently than the people you know and your friends and family, the only way you do that is with actual work. When I adopted what I'm about to cover in this video, I ended up making $250K in a month. 2 years before that, I was door dashing in college, always struggling to take that leap of faith, to now running a business that's fairly successful. And as much as I would like to say, the reason for my success is that I followed a really strict plan, slept for 8 hours, and never had a drop of alcohol and all that great stuff, in reality, it was way different. My health took a hit, it was and is stressful, and things went wrong a lot. And that's not to say that reaching success is some Herculean task, but it has everything to do with completing important things, and that's it, nothing else. To give context, monk mode is pretty much when you isolate yourself from the world to completely focus on you and your goals. The reason I don't believe in that is because when you're trying to build a business, get the promotion, or do whatever is the thing you're trying to pursue, there's a set of actions that get you there, and monk mode does not really focus on them. For example, if you want to get a client, you need to do outreach. You need to do a certain amount of ads. You need to post content. The routine involved with monk mode says things like delete social media or don't drink alcohol, but those have nothing to do with doing the actions that get you close to your goals. Of course, it's a good idea to have good habits and do all that stuff, but even if you were drunk on the job and scrolled TikTok for 5 hours a day, if you still did 100 cold calls, you'd be closer to getting a client than if you didn't go on social media for a second, meditated for 1 hour, and then did a cold plunge. You could literally be blind drunk and get better results than if all your focus was on meditating. And the drunkenness might even help your cold calls if you're nervous about it. Alcohol and drugs are obviously not good for you and won't help you focus, but just because you had a drink or two 2 days ago doesn't mean you automatically can't get any work done. I actually wrote my best performing YouTube video after, a couple of bottles of wine with one of my clients at like 12 a.m. Of course, if a routine helps you be more efficient or helps you get more done, then it's good, but relying on it makes you fragile. The point here isn't that a routine is evil or bad. The point here is that your routine is meant to be a supplement to the work, meaning the work comes first and the routine matters less. So for example, I know a lot of people that if they miss their alarm and they forget to meditate, they can't get any work done for the rest of the day because their routine gets thrown out of whack. Meanwhile, the competitor in business might wake up hungover, make 100 cold calls, check his ad campaigns, and then make a YouTube video and run laps around the first guy. So who do you think is going to sign more clients out of those two people? The fragile guy who missed his alarm and then loses an entire day, or the slightly dysfunctional guy who just does the work no matter what? It's pretty easy to figure out. When you build on a routine that doesn't focus on actual work inputs, like in monk mode, it makes you weak and you end up getting beaten by someone who can perform in any conditions. Seriously, I'm telling you, the guy who has a hissy fit because his aura ring says he had a bad sleep is going to get destroyed by the guy who just does the work. You don't need a crazy routine to get the work done. You need to make a commitment to the work and then never deviate from it no matter what. Monk mode is a commitment to a routine. Machine mode is a commitment to the work. The work is the stuff that needs doing no matter what. For example, the core pillars of monk mode are meditation, cutting out alcohol, doing 30 minutes of exercise per day. None of those have anything to do with building a business or scaling or getting any sort of clients or anything like that. That is basically resting and recovering. And if you're trying to change your life, resting and recovering is probably going to be your lowest priority. Again, I'm not saying routines are bad, and this doesn't mean you have to stop doing stuff like meditating, but you have to consider that if these things are wasting your time, it's not worth it. So ask yourself, by spending that amount of time doing that thing, am I going to be able to get more work done than the time I spent doing that thing? So for example, if I spend 10 minutes meditating, is that going to help me get more than 10 minutes worth of productivity back? If it is, and I can spend 10 minutes to earn an extra hour of focused work by meditating, that's super worth it and that's a great deal. But it might be yes, it might be no. The point here is that it's never really, should I meditate and do this routine or not? It's more, is this a good trade for me right now? So let's say you wake up feeling super fresh and focused one day. Are you still going to meditate, or are you just going to go to your desk and start working? Another example is that I've tried quitting coffee cold turkey and never having any nicotine gum, which is, guilty pleasure that I absolutely love. You can sue me if you want. But what happened was I was less focused, I had less energy, and I enjoyed my life less because, again, I actually really like coffee and I really like nicotine. So after a while of not having any coffee, I was just thinking to myself, why am I doing this? What is the actual benefit I'm getting by doing this thing? It was pretty much zero. It wasn't helping me at all. So why would I keep doing it? It's just a bad trade. Maybe I didn't stay off the coffee long enough to get through withdrawals or something like that. But even then, is it really worth that time to try and get a 1% boost in my health when you're trying to make a jump in social classes and get to the next level? That's kind of what I'm saying for this monk mode stuff. If you have a morning routine, the only purpose of it should be that you get more work done during the day. So my 1 hour morning routine should mean I get 8 hours of productivity instead of 6, which means my 1 hour investment gets me an extra 2 focus hours. And if that isn't the case, don't fucking do it. Honestly, what I found was that there was really nothing healthy about getting to success. When you're grinding to get your first 10 or 100K months or even more than that or less than that, it's not the time to hit records in the gym. It's the time to do the work that has the biggest impact and do as much of it as possible. You can focus on your health if you want, but that's not something that you need to do to reach your goals. If you feel like going to the gym, you can absolutely do that, but it's not a part of reaching your goals. Some of the smartest and richest people I know have complete dad bods and smoke all day, and some of them are CrossFit superstars that love working out. The lesson here is that fitness and health are not a requirement to making more money. Sure, you can do your monk mode if you want, or just get drunk 4 nights a week. Either way, as long as you make sure to do the stuff that I'm about to go over, you are not going to have any issues. There are 2 parts to this. The first part is the absolute non-negotiables, and the second part is going to cover some of the sneaky hacks you can use to get the most out of your time. Might seem a little extreme to some, but again, this is not meant to be easy. It's not easy to grow a business. This is just what I've done to get the minimum amount of success that I've gotten. Step 1 is all about getting addicted to your work. These are things that you need to do every single day. Number 1 is going to be 5 hours of focused work on the business before you do anything else. This is easily one of the best lifestyle changes you can make. If you're consistently doing 3 to 5 hours of work before anything else, that is immediately going to put you in the top 1% of society overnight. Most people don't even get 3 hours of real work done in a week, which sounds crazy, but it is absolutely true. Next, go into a dark room with your headphones on and a plan you made the night before, and just train yourself to sit there and bang it out. It's obviously extremely boring and it doesn't get any more enjoyable, but there's a cost for everything in life. If you want to get where you want to go, there's a price to be paid. And if you're going to learn how to get in a cold plunge, you may as well get used to sitting in a fucking desk and doing the actual work. And whether you run $1 million business or you're on the way to running one, this is just one of those things that's absolutely necessary. It never goes away, but nobody really does. People say they have calls, they have stuff on, they have people to see, but either you wake up earlier or the stuff doesn't get done. And the reason for that is because without this time, literally nothing happens in the business. You are the business and you have to use this time to grow the business. During that time, you want to work with a 60-minute timer and then have a 10-minute break. 2 of the absolute best ways to get better productivity in these 5 hours is to use a timer. Set the timer for 60 minutes, phone in another room, and just train yourself to not get up or not do anything else until the timer goes off. After each hour that you do this, fill out a form showing what you did in that hour and have a submission notification sent to your partner or someone that can hold you accountable. This is literally like natural Adderall. It is by far the best way to work, And the form gives you some dopamine and accountability and ensures you keep going and is literally addicting after a while. Doing this for long enough will turn you into a completely different person. If you don't know how to work hard, if you're someone that doesn't know how to work, this is going to completely change your life. Doing this for long enough turns you into a completely different person. If you're someone that goes to your desk and just sits there for 12 hours, of course you're going to feel stressed. Of course you're going to have low self-esteem. But this is the thing that is going to transform you into a machine. The key here is don't use your phone timer because that's just a distraction. And probably the main reason people constantly get distracted is because they're just sitting next to their phone. Absolutely stupid. Next, you have to make sure you're actually doing the right stuff during that time. So you have to plan 3 to 5 tasks the night before that are going to actually make you money. If you're growing a business or trying to grow a business and nothing's happening, 9 times out of 10, you're just focused on the wrong stuff. The best way to fix this is just make a plan for what you're going to do and figure out what is stopping you from growing right now. Do you need to get better at a skill? Do you need to learn something? Do you need more reps at the skill? Do you need to go and, do 100 outreaches? Do you need to book more sales calls? To figure out what you need to focus on, write down your goal. Let's say reach 100K a month in revenue. To reach 100K, you need probably a certain amount of people to give you a certain amount of money. That's fair to say. So to figure out what you need to do, you just have to figure out what is stopping us from getting there right now. Usually, it's going to be something pretty obvious, like we don't book enough sales calls, we don't have enough employees, we don't have enough back-end infrastructure in our business to maintain that amount of clients. Or we can't keep clients for long enough and we have to sign 1 million clients to get there. And there, you pretty much have a full list of all of these potential tasks that I could do. From that list of tasks, what you want to do is think, if I could only do one of these things, which one would I do to make the most amount of money? Then cross out all the other ones. They can be done later or by someone else. Do the first task and then repeat for the next 3 to 5 tasks per day. So once you have your tasks, you have your timers, you have your forms, you just have to sit down and do the work. Over time, this becomes so damn addicting that you almost want to work more than you want to do anything else. Now, let's talk about some optimizations you can make to get the most out of that time that you're working. Number one is that you need brutal honesty with yourself. So for example, my biggest weakness is task switching. So I'll have a list of tasks. I want to try and do them all at once instead of just doing one thing and then finishing that one thing. The only way you can beat that is just by brutally saying, my biggest problem is that I switch between tasks. And the more that you become aware of these things and catch yourself doing your biggest weakness, the better that you can eradicate that thing over time. So for example, if my problem is task switching, I can just catch myself when I'm about to switch and then just focus on that one thing. But the first step to that is just being brutally honest and acknowledging I suck at sticking to one thing and only doing one thing until it's complete. And then you have to work on that over time. It doesn't happen overnight, but obviously if this can double your productivity over time, it's probably worth focusing on. Next is that removal is better than restriction. So for example, if your phone is in your room, instead of just locking your phone or putting it on do not disturb, just completely get rid of it. Give it to your neighbor, give it to your friend, put it in your car, lock it in there overnight. Only get your phone after 1 p.m. Just completely remove the thing. If you read the book Hyperfocus, this is a really good way to start. That's where I learned that. Next, you obviously need 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, but if you're working really hard and you've got a really active brain, that can be hard to do. The best thing that I've done for this is before bed, I'll get my book out, I'll write down everything I learned that day, I'll write down everything I need to do the next day, and basically get anything I'm thinking about out of my brain before I go to bed. Eventually, I just go straight to sleep. And after I started doing this, I literally started having dreams again. So I hadn't had a dream in 2 years before I started doing this end of day routine. All it takes, get a book, get a pen, write everything down, do it. The next thing is that you need to work before you do anything else. So it's really easy to fall into this trap where, I'm just going to go and do this thing. I'm just going to go and do this thing before you get to work. But that is the best way to accidentally burn hours and hours and hours per day. Just forget everything else and focus purely on doing the work. That is the number one thing you need to focus on, and cut everything else. That doesn't mean you can't see your friends and family or you have to completely become a hermit, but the thing that comes first is just your work. It's a priorities thing and not a complete removal from, everything that you love about life. Next, what I do when I'm working is I have a coffee and I have a 2 milligram nicotine gum. This isn't too much nicotine, so it's not like a Zyn or, some sort of cigarette that, completely zaps you and makes you get too buzzed. It's just a little bit of a stimulation, a little bit of a stimmy, and then you can get in and you can work really hard. It's a great combo for focus. One note about that though is that you obviously don't want to become addicted or dependent on that sort of thing. So just cycle on and off every few weeks. Don't have it every single day, and don't have too much of it at once because obviously it's not health, it's not health, not super healthy. The next thing is that you want to shift your entire life around your ideal schedule. So for example, if you want to wake up at 5 and get to work, that means you're going to have to bring your dinner forward because you don't want to stay up too late. That might mean that you have to go on a date a little bit at different times. That might mean you have to see your friends on the weekend instead of seeing them during the day, during the week. It's just one of those fundamental shifts that everything goes around the work and nothing gets in the way of that. And then once you've done that, once you've done your 5 hours of tasks and you've taken your calls that day, you can just go and be free and do whatever you want. But the key here is that everything is on growing the business and getting to the next level. Nothing happens outside of that until that stuff is done. In saying that, sometimes it can be hard to block out 5 straight hours. Let's say you have a client call, let's say you have a sales call. It can be hard to block 5 straight in a row. So if that's the case, make sure you get a few hours done. If you absolutely need to take a call, see someone, or do something, you can do that, but make sure you get a couple hours done, and then you can just split up the blocks of time at different times during the day. What I'll do is, because I'm based in Australia and a lot of my clients are in the US, I'll wake up, do a few hours of work, take a bunch of calls, and then I'll do 2 to 3 hours of work after that, and then go to the gym. The next one is the most Huberman that I'll get during this video, and that's just to wake up and try not to go on your phone straight away. I know it's tempting if you have Slack messages, if you have people messaging all the time, clients, etc., sales getting made overnight. It's so easy to just go up and check your phone, but trust me, it just makes you feel so much better during the day. It makes it so much easier to focus when you don't do that. Next is that having a plan is absolutely essential. One of the worst things you can do for your focus is get to your desk, have no idea what you're going to do, and then just sit there pretending to work for 10 hours, then getting to the end of the day and still being stressed. That is one of the best ways to burn yourself out because you feel like you're working all the time, but you're not actually getting anything done. The benefit of having a plan is that you can get the stuff done and then completely switch your brain off, go for a walk, go see a partner, go do whatever you want. Then you can wake up the next day with a new plan, get all that stuff done, and have a really good balance and have really good boundaries between your work and your personal life. This is one of the best things you can do to not only help you get more work done, but also just so you can make it sustainable that you can do it for a certain amount of time. This way, it literally doesn't matter what you do after your work. It literally doesn't matter. If you want to go get drunk after you've done all your work, as long as you have done all that stuff. But that can only be achieved with the right planning. Next, if you are scatterbrained and can't focus, the best thing that you can do is just wipe out 10 minutes and meditate. It sounds kind of hippie, a little bit fugazi, but the best focus hours that you'll have are when you're really, really calm, your heart rate is quite low, you know exactly what you need to do, and all you need to do is just focus on what's in front of you, which is ideally a needle moving task. If you're too stressed, if you're, white knuckling the wheel, of course it's going to be hard, and of course you're going to switch between tasks. What you need to do, like I said, wipe out the next 10 minutes, meditate. I like using Russell Brand's meditation because his British voice puts me right to sleep. Get right in that meditative mood, and then you can just get straight into it. After that 10 minutes, you're going to get a much better ROI out of your time. And like I said earlier, the point of having that 10 minutes is because it's going to help you get more out of the next hours rather than just trying to burn yourself out when you can't focus and just essentially writing off the next couple of hours. Next, instead of seeing the 5 hours of work as a goal, you have to see this as an absolute minimum. It's really easy to just stick to a standard. For example, if you ask a cigarette smoker, hey, do you want a cigarette? Even if they're going to try and quit, they still get really tied into it because they don't have a standard that they don't smoke. Compare that to if you talk to someone who's never been a smoker and they just don't smoke. If you offer them a cigarette, they're just going to say, no, I don't smoke. Why would I have a cigarette? So when you look at the 5 hours of work, you can either see that as, oh, that's something that everyone, up here does. I can't do that. I've got sales calls. I've got all this other stuff on. You can see it as something that's a Herculean task that is very, very difficult to do. Or you can just see it as something that must be done no matter what. It is my bare minimum to get 5 hours of work done. And when you do it that way, it just becomes easy to do. It's the exact same way that some people wake up at 5 a.m. and think, yeah, it's easy. Of course I do that. Compared to some people would say, oh no, I could never wake up at that time. And then when you look at that, it just becomes a choice. Do you want to become the person that just says, no, that's way too hard. I can't do that. I'm the worst. I have no skills. That's way too hard for me. Or you can become the person that just says, yeah, fuck it. I can do it. I know this is going to help me. I'm going to just do it. Next is doing a bit of cardio every single day. Getting this done is one of the hands down best things I've ever done for my ability to focus, just because it doesn't hurt you that much. It's not that, stressful on your body. All it takes is, Stairmaster, treadmill, going for a run, doing some boxing, whatever it may be. This is by far the best thing that I've done for my focus because it just makes your brain so calm. Like I said before, your best focus hours are when your heart rate's low and you just feel good. Cardio is one of the best things you can do for this. The 2 last quick focus hacks that I have are, number 1, make sure to take your breaks when they're scheduled, because if you're trying to do 12 hours of deep work in a row, it's never going to work. Just do an hour, have a 10-minute break, refresh your brain, and then get back to it with the same intensity you did at the start. Because when people say they just work 16 hours straight, they're either taking ridiculous amounts of performance-enhancing drugs like Adderall, or they're just straight out lying. Take your breaks. It's going to be better for your brain and you're going to get more out of the time. And the last one is with your breaks, make sure not to lose too much time in transition. One of the worst things you can do is go out for a 10-minute break. It becomes a 20-minute break. And then all of a sudden your day extends and it just gets worse and worse and worse over time. If you're 20 minutes late instead of 10 minutes, over time, that becomes an hour. And you've just wasted an hour of time during the day. That is a really great way, again, to get nothing done, feel stressed when you finish, and just hate your life in general. AKA, don't do that. Take your breaks, do it for 10 minutes, don't take too long. Really simple stuff, but no one does it. These are the basics. Something that you've probably learned in this video is that it's not some fantastical thing that you have to do. It's just doing the basics over and over and over again. Basics and consistency are pretty much excellence. If you've watched this video and you've figured, oh wow, I actually know how to do all that stuff, I can do all that stuff, you have to ask yourself, why are you not doing it then? And it might be, yeah, I'm just coping that I need to do monk mode, I need to do my meditation, I need to do my sauntering, I need to do all this stuff. But in reality, there's just a set of tasks that you have on your list that you have to do and a certain set of skills that you have to get really good at that are going to get you where you want to go. And if you are not doing those things, you are not moving in the right direction. One of the most excruciating things you can do is know exactly what you have to do, and then you wake up and you don't do it. When you make these promises to yourself and you don't keep them, it literally just erodes your self-esteem and makes you show up in life completely washed compared to what you could be if you just kept the promises that you make to yourself. The thing is, you can literally get whatever you want from this life. You look at people online, offline, wherever, all they do is work hard. You can meet people that make millions and millions of dollars and they're never, ever, ever fantastical. They don't have anything that you don't have. All they did was stick to the basics. It sounds like the most guru-y bullshit that you've ever heard, but it is absolutely true. My business partner exited a company for 8 figures and he's the most normal guy ever. Not to shit on him or anything, but he's just a regular guy that did a certain set of tasks and did them extremely well for a really long time. Surprise, surprise, when you do that, it works. The caveat to that is that when you want something from life, you just have to pay the cost. So it's like you go into the universe and saying, hey, Mr. Universe, I want this thing. And then the universe comes back and says, hey, here is the cost. This is what you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to do 5 hours of work. You're going to have to do it a lot. It's not going to be guaranteed. And you're just going to have to keep going even when you don't know what's going to happen. And if you say yes and you do that stuff, you can get it. If you say no, or you cope, or you push back and you procrastinate, it's not going to happen. And it's just one of those simple things. And it's just one of those things in life where there's a clear path to do what you need to do. And there's a clear path that you know is the wrong way, but you still fall into that trap. So it's just a question you have to ask yourself. Are you going to do what is required, or are you going to push back and procrastinate for the rest of your life until eventually your situation gets so damn bad that you have to take action? It's up to you.